Hey, how's it going? My name's Noah, aka JLang, and today I'm gonna show you just how easy it can be to produce in Reason. In just 5 steps, you can go from an empty project to a super solid foundation for a beat. So let's start with... I like to start with the drums for my project, so let's grab a drum machine. I'm gonna use the Redrum drum computer. Redrum is cool because you can literally just click in your drum pattern right into these little squares here. But before I do that, I'm gonna change my BPM to 80, and I'm gonna change the drum kit preset as well. So if I click through some of these sounds, pretty weird, but I like them. I think I wanna change this one to something else though. Cool. Now I'll just click in a drum loop. And here's what we got. You can adjust the sounds individually too with these knobs here. So the basic drum loop is done, but I always like to find a couple extra drum sounds just to fill out the loop a little bit more. So this time I'm gonna go to the browser. I pressed F9, but you can press the browser button over here. And I'm just gonna look for some loops. That's pretty cool. I also like to grab a couple one-shots here and there so that I can sprinkle them throughout the beat as kind of like a percussive ear candy. So I'll find some of those too. I found this and then this. So I'll mute those for now, and then at the end, I'll come back to them. But for now, the bongos alongside the drum loop we already had sounds like this. I try to keep my drum loops relatively simple and spacious, so when I'm layering stuff like chords over top, it doesn't get too cluttered. Oh, I guess that was kind of a spoiler for... Finding the right chords can be a huge stumbling block for me sometimes, especially because I think a lot of my favorite beats have really cool chord progressions. But luckily, even if you have little to no music theory knowledge, like me, Reason actually has a great tool to fix this exact problem. But first, let's find the sound we want to use. I'm gonna grab a polytone because I really like the synths, and I'll just find a preset that I like. Sounds good to me. Now, here's the secret. So you go over up here, we've been in the instruments tab this whole time, right? Now let's go over to the players tab, and there are all these different options. We're gonna grab the chord sequencer and just drag it right onto the polytone. Now, when I play a single note, an entire chord plays instead. You can change the key of the chord here, and there's also this huge selection of different genre-specific chord progressions that you can search through. Just like that, dope chord progression. I literally only pressed 3 notes. Now we're ready to move on to... This step is nice and easy. So let's go back to the instruments tab. Let's grab another polytone because they have some cool bass sounds. Let's try this one. Sounds good to me. Okay, so now again, even if you don't have enough music theory to really figure out what the accompanying bass line is to that chord progression that we just came up with, if we go back in the rack to the chord sequencer, right? If you look, there's a little piano roll down here. So when the chords play, they change, the piano roll changes to actually show you what notes are being played. So for the bass line, I'm literally just gonna take this bottom note of each chord and then use those as the notes for my bass line. It's just 3 notes, so let's record them in. And then if you were to hear it soloed, easy. And with that, let's move on to... A lot of the main parts of the beat are already in here. We've got a good drum loop, we've got a good bass line, and some solid chords. But I always like to add a couple extra melodic elements to really fill out the beat a little bit more. Let's find another instrument to toss in here. I'm thinking the object. And again, I'm just gonna play through a bunch of their presets and find something I like. Ooh. Now I'll just mess around with recording in different melodies that are catchy but simple and that still match the chords that we've got in there already. There's also another super simple technique that I like to use to add extra melodic notes here and there. All you have to do is go to the instrument that is playing the chords. In this case, it's the polytone. I'm just gonna Control C and Control V to copy paste it. And then I am gonna pick another instrument to swap out for the polytone. I'm gonna go for layers. Go in here, find a new preset that I like. I'm not gonna change anything about the synth I just added, nothing to change with the chord sequencer that's already there. But if I go back to that players tab and instead add the dual arpeggio here, now when I press a note, it literally arpeggiates the whole chord. The rhythm is completely different. It's awesome. And as usual, I like to scroll through the presets and find something I like. Ideally, in this case, it's something that's not too overpowering. It's something that can just kind of be in the background and pop up with some notes here and there. Let's try this one. Now, when I play it soloed, it sounds like this. Then when we listen to all the new melodic elements that we just added in, we've got this. And just like that, we've made it all the way to... Well, all right, I guess I can say it for the last one. We made it all... At this point, I've got all the elements to the beat that I want to add in. Now it's just about making the beat prettier. Let's start with the chords. I want to find a way to kind of meld the chords better in with the drums and make them a little bit crunchier. So to do that, I think I want to add a little bit of distortion to the chords. So I'm going to go back to these tabs over here and choose effects. I'm going to go for the osmium distortion matrix. It does look a bit intimidating when you first put it into the rack, but that's what the presets are for. Now all I have to do is find one. Ooh, I like that. I like that a lot, but it's a little bit too intense for me, so I'm just gonna drag it down just enough so I get a little bit of that big crush effect. Now for the bongo loop. Because the rest of the beat sounds super synthetic, I want to find a device that gives me that kind of synthetic effect. So I'm going to go for this sweeper modulation effect. And now we're back to these one-shots from the very beginning. Whoops. I really just want these one-shots to appear here and there so that as you're listening to the beat, once a couple things happen, it's not just the same thing over and over. You know, you're still keeping the listener interested and engaged in the beat. So I think I just want to put some basic delay on each one of these so that when they play, they kind of echo a little bit and fade out. So now when I play the one shots in with the rest of the drum loop and the bongos, we got this. Now we're at the very last portion of the beautification process, aka arranging. Anytime I'm making a new beat, I follow these 5 steps pretty much in this exact order every time. So if you're new to producing, hopefully these steps helped you out. And even if you're not new to producing, hopefully you could take something away from this video either way. If you're looking for your first DAW, Reason's the way to go. Catch you in the next one.